Deep in the heart of the Pacific, there lies an untold story, one hidden within the very DNA of the Fijian people. A story of ancient voyagers, lost civilizations, and genetic mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew. But what if I told you that Fijians carry the traces of an extinct human species? That their genes hold secrets of survival, resilience, and even unexpected traits like natural blonde hair? Fiji isn't just another island in the Pacific, it's a genetic crossroads. A place where two ancient worlds collided. Thousands of years ago, seafaring Austronesians set sail from Taiwan, venturing across vast ocean waters, navigating only by the stars. These voyagers reached the islands of Fiji, Tonga, and Samoa, bringing with them tools, crops, and a unique genetic signature. But when they arrived in Fiji, they weren't alone. The land was already home to another group, ancient Melanesians, a people whose ancestors had been in the region for over 40,000 years. And when these two vastly different populations met, something extraordinary happened. The DNA of modern Fijians is a living record of this encounter. Unlike pure Polynesians or Melanesians, Fijians sit at a perfect genetic midpoint. Their maternal ancestry, traced through mitochondrial DNA, shows strong links to Austronesian seafarers, while their paternal Y chromosome markers come primarily from Melanesian men. This suggests that the early migrations weren't just about exploration. They were about merging two worlds, reshaping the future of the Pacific. But the real question is, how did this impact who the Fijians are today? Their genetic makeup holds astonishing traits that make them stand out from the rest of the world. For example, the phenomenon of naturally occurring blonde hair among some Fijians isn't a result of European ancestry. It comes from a rare Melanesian gene mutation found nowhere else on Earth. Scientists discovered that this unique blonde trait is caused by a recessive TYRP1 gene variant, proving that evolution can take different paths to the same destination. And that's just the beginning. Fijians, like many other Pacific Islanders, also carry what researchers call a thrifty gene. This mutation, found in the CRABRF gene, was once an evolutionary advantage, allowing bodies to store energy efficiently for times of scarcity. But in today's modern world, where food is readily available, it contributes to higher rates of obesity and diabetes. What was once a survival tool has now become a health challenge. And then there's something even more shocking. Deep within Fijian DNA are traces of an ancient, extinct species of humans, the Denisovans. These distant relatives of Neanderthals once roamed parts of Asia, and their genes remain in the people of Melanesia, including Fijians. But why does this matter? Because Denisovan DNA may have given Fijians unique immunity advantages, protecting them from tropical diseases and possibly even influencing their physical endurance. It's a direct link to a forgotten chapter of human history, one that still lives within the people of Fiji today. So what does this mean? It means that Fijian DNA is more than just a record of ancestry. It's a map of survival, adaptation, and human resilience. From their seafaring origins to their unique genetic traits, every strand of Fijian DNA tells a story of journeys across time, of the power of genetic fusion, and of a people shaped by both history and nature. But this is only the beginning. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the incredible migration stories that shaped the Fijian gene pool, including the surprising Polynesian connections that left lasting marks on some regions of Fiji. For centuries, the origins of the Fijian people remained a mystery. Legend spoke of powerful warriors and fearless navigators, but science has uncovered something even more fascinating. Deep within the genes of Fijians lies a time capsule, a biological record stretching back thousands of years, revealing a story of migration, survival, and adaptation unlike any other. To truly understand the origins of Fijians, we must travel back to a time before history was written. Thousands of years ago, the vast Pacific was uncharted territory, a seemingly endless ocean stretching beyond the horizon. Then, something remarkable happened. A group of highly skilled navigators, the Lapita people, set sail from Southeast Asia, braving the open sea in search of new lands. But these weren't just aimless wanderers. They were part of the great Austronesian expansion, one of the most daring human migrations ever recorded. Their journey brought them to the islands of Fiji, Tonga, and Samoa, around 3,000 years ago. They didn't just bring their language and customs, they carried their genes, leaving behind traces of their Austronesian ancestry that still exist in modern Fijians today. But this was only half of the story. When the Lapita arrived, they encountered another group, Melanesians, an ancient people whose ancestors had been in the Pacific for tens of thousands of years. Unlike the Lapita, who were expert sailors, these Melanesians had adapted to life in rugged island environments, shaping their own distinct genetic traits over time. What followed was not just a cultural fusion, but a genetic revolution. Over generations, the two populations mixed, creating a unique blend of DNA that set Fijians apart from both their Polynesian and Melanesian neighbors. Unlike most Pacific Islanders, who either descended from one group or the other, Fijians exist in the middle, genetically distinct, yet carrying the legacies of both ancient worlds. This dual heritage isn't just reflected in their physical traits, but in their deep-rooted traditions, languages, and social structures that still exist today. But DNA doesn't just tell us about the past. It reveals secrets about how these ancient populations lived and thrived. Analysis of Fijian genetic markers shows that the early Austronesians had a matrilocal society, where women remained in their birthplace, while men traveled across islands. This means that long before written records, ancient Fijian society may have operated under an entirely different structure than we once believed. It's a discovery that challenges traditional assumptions about Pacific civilizations and provides a rare glimpse into how human societies were shaped by migration. What makes the Fijian genetic story even more remarkable is that it was never static. Even after the initial mixing of Austronesians and Melanesians, Fiji remained a central hub of movement and interaction. The genetic imprints of Polynesians, particularly from Tonga and Samoa, can still be seen in certain parts of Fiji today. This was no accident. Eastern Fiji, especially the Lau Islands, became a meeting point between Melanesian and Polynesian worlds, leading to distinct genetic differences between regions within Fiji itself. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Fijian DNA is what it doesn't show. Unlike Far Eastern Polynesians, such as the Rapa Nui of Easter Island, Fijians do not carry any traces of Native American ancestry. This confirms that while later Polynesians made contact with South America, these interactions never extended westward to Fiji. It's another puzzle piece in the complex map of human migration, one that highlights how different Pacific islands were shaped by entirely separate historical forces. The story of Fijian DNA is not just about where they came from. It's about resilience, adaptation, and the extraordinary ability of human populations to navigate uncharted waters, both physically and genetically. Every strand of their DNA is a living record of thousands of years of exploration, survival, and transformation. And yet, this is only the beginning. In the next part, we will unravel the incredible migration stories that continue to shape Fiji, including the impact of colonial-era arrivals and how these later populations reshaped Fiji's genetic landscape. For centuries, the origins of the Fijian people remained a mystery. Legend spoke of powerful warriors and fearless navigators, but science has uncovered something even more fascinating. Deep within the genes of Fijians lies a time capsule, a biological record stretching back thousands of years, revealing a story of migration, survival, and adaptation unlike any other. To truly understand the origins of Fijians, we must travel back to a time before history was written. Thousands of years ago, the vast Pacific was uncharted territory, a seemingly endless ocean stretching beyond the horizon. Then, something remarkable happened. A group of highly skilled navigators, the Lapita people, set sail from Southeast Asia, braving the open sea in search of new lands. But these weren't just aimless wanderers. They were part of the great Austronesian expansion, one of the most daring human migrations ever recorded. Their journey brought them to the islands of Fiji, Tonga, and Samoa, around 3,000 years ago. They didn't just bring their language and customs, they carried their genes, leaving behind traces of their Austronesian ancestry that still exist in modern Fijians today. But this was only half of the story. When the Lapita arrived, they encountered another group, Melanesians, an ancient people whose ancestors had been in the Pacific for tens of thousands of years. Unlike the Lapita, who were expert sailors, these Melanesians had adapted to life in rugged island environments, shaping their own distinct genetic traits over time. What followed was not just a cultural fusion, but a genetic revolution. Over generations, the two populations mixed, creating a unique blend of DNA that set Fijians apart from both their Polynesian and Melanesian neighbors. Unlike most Pacific Islanders, who either descended from one group or the other, Fijians exist in the middle, genetically distinct, yet carrying the legacies of both ancient worlds. This dual heritage isn't just reflected in their physical traits, but in their deep-rooted traditions, languages, and social structures that still exist today. But DNA doesn't just tell us about the past. It reveals secrets about how these ancient populations lived and thrived. Analysis of Fijian genetic markers shows that the early Austronesians had a matrilocal society, where women remained in their birthplace while men traveled across islands. This means that long before written records, ancient Fijian society may have operated under an entirely different structure than we once believed. It's a discovery that challenges traditional assumptions about Pacific civilizations and provides a rare glimpse into how human societies were shaped by migration. What makes the Fijian genetic story even more remarkable is that it was never static. Even after the initial mixing of Austronesians and Melanesians, Fiji remained a central hub of movement and interaction. The genetic imprints of Polynesians, particularly from Tonga and Samoa, can still be seen in certain parts of Fiji today. This was no accident. Eastern Fiji, especially the Lau Islands, became a meeting point between Melanesian and Polynesian worlds, leading to distinct genetic differences between regions within Fiji itself. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Fijian DNA is what it doesn't show. Unlike Far Eastern Polynesians, such as the Rapa Nui of Easter Island, Fijians do not carry any traces of Native American ancestry. This confirms that while later Polynesians made contact with South America, these interactions never extended westward to Fiji. It's another puzzle piece in the complex map of human migration, one that highlights how different Pacific islands were shaped by entirely separate historical forces. The story of Fijian DNA is not just about where they came from. It's about resilience, adaptation, and the extraordinary ability of human populations to navigate uncharted waters, both physically and genetically. Every strand of their DNA is a living record of thousands of years of exploration, survival, and transformation. And yet, this is only the beginning. In the next part, we will unravel the incredible migration stories that continue to shape Fiji, including the impact of colonial-era arrivals and how these later populations reshaped Fiji's genetic landscape. Every human population carries genetic traits shaped by thousands of years of evolution. But in Fiji, these traits tell a story unlike any other. Some of them are so rare that they don't exist anywhere else in the world. Others are the result of ancient survival strategies, locked into the DNA of Fijians through generations of adaptation. From physical characteristics that defy expectations to hidden genetic advantages, the story of Fijian genetics is filled with surprises. One of the most intriguing aspects of Fijian DNA is how it has been shaped by island life. Isolation forces populations to evolve in unique ways, adapting to their environment in ways that often seem impossible. Over time, these genetic shifts have created traits that make Fijians distinct from any other group. But what exactly are these traits, and how did they develop? The first clue lies in how Fijians have adapted to their tropical environment. Genetic research has found that populations living in humid, coastal regions often develop specific physiological traits to handle heat and high UV exposure. In Fijians, certain genetic markers suggest adaptations that allow their bodies to regulate temperature more efficiently, helping them cope with the intense Pacific sun. These adaptations may have also influenced skin pigmentation and resilience to environmental stressors, small but crucial advantages that helped early Fijians survive in an unpredictable climate. Another fascinating genetic discovery involves how Fijians process food. Traditional Fijian diets were rich in starchy root crops like yams and taro, which required a digestive system optimized for breaking down complex carbohydrates. In some populations, scientists have found increased copies of the AMY1 gene, which is responsible for producing amylase, an enzyme that helps digest starch. While not yet extensively studied in Fiji, similar genetic adaptations have been found in other populations with historically high starch diets, suggesting that Fijians may also carry this trait. It's a genetic signature of an ancient way of life, embedded in their DNA. But there's another side to genetic adaptation, one that doesn't just help survival, but shapes the way people look. Fijians have long been recognized for their strong, muscular builds, a trait that isn't just cultural but genetic. Some research suggests that specific genetic markers influence body composition, muscle mass, and overall physical endurance. While the exact genetic pathways are still being explored, what's clear is that Fijian genetics have been shaped by centuries of physical activity, from ocean voyaging to intense labor in rugged island terrain. Then there are the more unexpected genetic traits, variations that seem almost out of place. Among them is an unusual blood type distribution. Studies show that Fijians, like many other Pacific Islanders, have an exceptionally high prevalence of blood type O. This is significant because type O blood has been linked to certain health advantages, including a lower risk of severe malaria. Though malaria was not widespread in Fiji's past, this genetic trait suggests an ancient connection to populations that may have faced different disease environments, further proof that genetic history is often more complex than it seems. Fijian genetics also offer clues about the immune system. Certain genetic markers found in Pacific Islanders have been linked to stronger immune responses, a potential advantage in fighting off infections that were once common in island environments. This could explain why some diseases spread differently in Fiji compared to other regions, as the genetic blueprint of the population may have provided a unique layer of protection. But as environments change and new diseases emerge, these same immune adaptations may also create unexpected vulnerabilities, something modern researchers are actively studying. The more we study Fijian DNA, the more we uncover a rich history written in genetic code, from adaptations to climate and diet to the physical traits that make Fijians unique. Every piece of the puzzle reveals a deeper understanding of human evolution. But these traits didn't develop in isolation. They were influenced by migration, intermarriage, and the movement of people across the Pacific. And that brings us to the next question. How do these genetic traits impact health today? In the next part, we'll explore the medical implications of Fijian genetics, from disease risks to potential health advantages that could change the future of medicine. Genetics isn't just about where we come from. It's about how we live today. Hidden within the DNA of Fijians are biological traits that influence everything from metabolism to disease resistance. These genetic patterns, shaped by thousands of years of adaptation, now play a critical role in health. But as the modern world collides with ancient genetics, new challenges are emerging. What can Fijian DNA tell us about the future of health? And could it hold the key to solving some of today's biggest medical mysteries? One of the most significant ways DNA impacts health is through metabolism. For generations, Fijians thrived on traditional diets rich in natural carbohydrates, seafood, and tropical fruits. But the genetic traits that once helped store energy efficiently are now clashing with modern diets, leading to rising health concerns. Research shows that certain genetic variants influence how the body processes fats and sugars, making some populations more prone to conditions like insulin resistance and weight gain. These genetic predispositions, combined with lifestyle changes, have led to a surge in metabolic disorders across the Pacific, including in Fiji. But metabolism isn't the only area where genetics plays a role. Certain hereditary traits make Fijians more susceptible to specific health conditions. For example, studies have found that Pacific Islanders, including Fijians, show distinct patterns in how their bodies regulate uric acid. This has led to a significantly higher risk of developing gout, a condition that causes painful joint inflammation due to excess uric acid crystals. Unlike in other populations, where lifestyle factors are the main cause, in Fiji, the genetic component is particularly strong, making prevention and treatment more complex. Cardiovascular health is another area where genetic factors come into play. Some genetic markers found in Pacific populations have been linked to differences in cholesterol levels and blood pressure regulation. While lifestyle choices remain a crucial factor, these genetic traits may help explain why some heart-related conditions appear more frequently or develop differently in Fijians compared to other groups. Scientists are now investigating whether specific genes influence how Fijians respond to different treatments, which could lead to more personalized healthcare approaches in the future. Then there's the immune system. DNA plays a key role in how the body defends itself against infections, and in Fijians, certain immune-related genes show unique patterns. This could explain why some infectious diseases behave differently in the region compared to other parts of the world. Understanding these genetic variations is not just important for Fiji. It could help researchers develop new treatments for diseases that impact populations globally. The impact of genetics on health isn't always negative. Some DNA traits provide advantages, offering protection against certain illnesses or enabling the body to function more efficiently under specific environmental conditions. For example, research into Pacific Islander genetics has revealed adaptations that may have historically helped with endurance and energy regulation. As scientists continue to explore these areas, there's growing interest in whether these traits could be harnessed for medical advancements. But while genetics provides a foundation, it is not destiny. Understanding the role of DNA in health allows people to take proactive steps toward better outcomes. By combining genetic insights with modern medicine, researchers are working toward solutions that could improve healthcare for Fijians and other Pacific populations. From targeted treatments for metabolic disorders to new approaches for managing genetic risk factors, the study of Fijian DNA is already shaping the future of medicine. The connection between genetics and health is a powerful one. It influences not just individual well-being, but the overall health of entire populations. And with each new discovery, the possibilities for medical breakthroughs grow. But there is still more to uncover. In the next part, we will explore the global impact of Fijian DNA research, how studying this unique genetic heritage is leading to groundbreaking scientific discoveries that go far beyond the islands of Fiji. DNA is more than just a record of ancestry. It's a key to understanding human evolution, health, and even the future of medicine. But one of the most surprising breakthroughs in genetic science comes from an unexpected place, the islands of Fiji. As researchers decode the complexities of Fijian DNA, they're making discoveries that don't just explain the past, but are transforming the way we think about genetics on a global scale. For decades, genetic studies focused primarily on populations in Europe and Asia, leaving large parts of the world, especially the Pacific, understudied. But as new research expands into regions like Fiji, scientists are uncovering unique genetic signatures that challenge old assumptions. One of the most groundbreaking findings has been the genetic distinctiveness of Fijians. While the world once classified populations into broad categories, modern DNA analysis has proven that Fiji doesn't fit neatly into any one group. Instead, it represents a rare genetic crossroads, shaped by migration and adaptation in ways never before fully understood. One of the biggest revelations in recent years has been the role of Pacific genetics in obesity research. Scientists have identified specific genetic markers in Pacific Islander populations that affect metabolism, energy storage, and body composition. What makes this discovery so important is that it's changing how researchers approach conditions like diabetes and heart disease, not just in Fiji, but worldwide. By studying these unique genetic traits, doctors may be able to develop better treatments for metabolic disorders, tailored to different populations based on their genetic background. Fijian DNA is also making waves in the field of immune system research. Some of the genetic variations found in Pacific Islanders are now being studied for their potential role in disease resistance. Scientists believe that certain genes, inherited from ancient ancestors, may have helped protect against infections common in tropical environments. If researchers can unlock how these genes work, it could lead to new breakthroughs in medicine, potentially improving treatments for illnesses that affect millions of people around the world. But the discoveries don't stop there. The unique blend of genetic influences in Fiji is also providing insights into human migration patterns. By analyzing the DNA of Fijians, scientists can trace the movement of ancient populations across the Pacific, filling in gaps in our understanding of early exploration and settlement. This research is helping redefine how we map human history, proving that the Pacific wasn't just a series of isolated islands, but a network of connected cultures, shaped by constant movement and exchange. Even more surprising is the role Fijian DNA is playing in stem cell and genetic therapy research. Because of their unique ancestry, Fijians and other Pacific Islanders carry genetic markers that are rare in most other populations. This means that their inclusion in genetic databases is essential for making medical advancements that are truly inclusive. Already, scientists are using insights from Pacific genetics to refine treatments for conditions like cancer, autoimmune diseases, and even neurological disorders. Every new discovery is proving one thing. Fijian DNA is more than just a regional interest. It's a crucial piece of the puzzle in understanding human biology. The study of these unique genetic patterns is opening doors in medicine, anthropology, and evolutionary science, pushing the boundaries of what we know about genetics and its role in shaping human life. But the most exciting part? There's still so much more to uncover. In the final part, we will bring together everything we've learned, exploring how Fijian DNA is not just a window into the past, but a map toward the future of science, health, and human understanding. The story of Fijian DNA is far from over. In fact, it's only just beginning. Every discovery made so far has revealed deeper layers of history, migration, and adaptation, but the most exciting breakthroughs may still be ahead. As genetic research advances, new questions arise. What else can Fijian DNA tell us? How will future discoveries shape science and medicine? And could the next genetic breakthrough come from a tiny island in the Pacific? One of the most promising areas of research involves personalized medicine. Scientists are beginning to understand how genetic differences influence how people respond to treatments, from common medications to life-saving therapies. By studying the genetic makeup of Pacific populations, including Fijians, researchers could develop medical approaches that are tailored to their specific needs, ensuring that healthcare is not based on a one-size-fits-all model, but instead considers the unique genetic factors that shape individual health. Another exciting possibility lies in ancestral DNA mapping. While we now have a broad understanding of how Fiji was settled, new technologies are making it possible to uncover even more precise details. Advanced genome sequencing could identify micromigration patterns, revealing how different regions of Fiji were populated over time, whether smaller genetic groups existed within the islands, and how external influences shaped local populations in ways we never previously imagined. But DNA research isn't just about the past. It's also shaping the future of human evolution. As the world changes, so do our genes. Scientists are now exploring how modern lifestyles, diet, and environmental factors are influencing genetic expression in real time. Will Fijians, whose ancestors thrived in physically demanding island environments, develop new adaptations to changing diets and urbanization? Could genetic research help prevent the rise of diseases that are becoming more common in Pacific communities? The answers to these questions may redefine how we approach health and evolution itself. Beyond medicine and history, there's another field where Fijian DNA is making an impact: biological conservation. The Pacific has long been a region of biodiversity, and genetic research is now being used to study how both humans and ecosystems have evolved together. Some scientists believe that studying the genetic resilience of indigenous populations could provide clues to environmental sustainability, offering insights into how humans have adapted to island life for thousands of years, and how those same strategies might help combat modern environmental challenges. The rapid advancement of genetic technology also brings ethical challenges. As DNA research expands, questions arise about genetic privacy, data ownership, and the rights of indigenous communities over their genetic information. Scientists and policymakers are now working to ensure that future research is conducted with respect and transparency, so that discoveries benefit the people whose DNA makes them possible. Fiji has the potential to be at the forefront of ethical genetic research, setting an example for how science and tradition can work together in a rapidly evolving world. Fijian DNA is a treasure trove of knowledge, holding answers to some of the biggest questions in genetics, health, and anthropology. But the most remarkable part of this story is that it's still being written. Every new discovery adds another piece to the puzzle, deepening our understanding of where Fijians came from, how they've adapted over time, and what the future may hold for them. The journey through Fijian DNA has revealed an incredible tale, one of migration, survival, and scientific breakthroughs that extend far beyond the Pacific. And as research continues, one thing is certain: the story of Fijian DNA is far from over.